Hi everyone, welcome back to Salesforce Velocity course. In this video, we are going to check out DataRaptors in Velocity. All right. So in the previous session, we checked about omniscripts and how to create a basic omniscript, but that was just the UI part. But let's say now in your omniscript, you have to fetch data from Salesforce. Then how will you be able to do that, right? So for that, we are going to use DataRaptors. But before we actually dive into that, we'll understand each and everything about Omnistudio DataRaptors. Okay. So once you are in your org, the first thing that you would have to do in order to reach to this page is click over here and search for DataRaptors, and you need to click on Omnistudio DataRaptors. Okay, that is how you're going to reach to this page. All right, and similarly, the way we had Omni Studio, similarly, this page is also designed where you will get the option to create a new DataRaptor. Okay, so once you click on, and these are the some examples that are already there, which came along with the package. All right, so in our case, we are going to create a new DataRaptor. All right, so here you can give any unique name that you want for your data raptor. So I am going to give it as account search use case. Okay. And then we have something called interface type. Okay. So there are four options here. So these are basically the types of data raptors that we have in Velocity. Okay. The first one is extract, then we have turbo extract, then we have load and transform. Okay. And all these types, right? Data raptor types are used depending on the kind of requirement that you have. Okay. So for example, if I talk about, let's just understand starting from this one. Okay, so turbo extract. So this particular data raptor, it gets data from a single Salesforce object. Okay, so it is basically more restrictive. So if you are really sure that your raptor is going to be only querying from a single Salesforce object, then you can use turbo extract, but you have to keep in mind that you will not be able to use fetch data from multiple Salesforce objects. Okay, so this is restrictive, but also the performance is better in this one because you're only going to query from a single Salesforce object, right? Then we have extract data raptor. So extract data raptor, you'll be able to query from one or more Salesforce objects. So that is the basic difference between turbo extract and extract data raptor. Okay, so here you are only going to be able to query from a single Salesforce object. Here you can query from one or more Salesforce objects. The other differences is that this is better in performance, right? Because it is only querying from a single Salesforce object. But the benefit of extract is much more, right? If we don't talk about exactly the performance angle, but here you'll be able to use formulas and some other features which are only available in extract and not in turbo extract. Also, of course, the multiple objects that can be queried in extract data raptor. Okay, then we have this one, load data raptor. So load data raptor is, let's say if you have to load data from different sources, okay, then you can use load data raptor. So basically it can write data to Salesforce objects. What I mean by that is that it can create data in Salesforce, and also it can update data in Salesforce, right? So let's say if you already have data somewhere in, let's say, JSON format or XML format, right? You will still be able to load those kind of data using the load data raptor inside the data raptor. And depending on what you have written inside your data raptor, it can either create or update the records in Salesforce. Okay, let me give you a really quick example of load data raptor. Okay, let's say in my Salesforce org, in this Salesforce org, just imagine that I have 10 accounts. Okay, and that those 10 accounts have different details and different names. Let's say account 1, account 2, account 3, so on till account 10. Okay, now I want to create 10 respective contacts for those accounts. Okay, so for account 1, there should be one associated contact, and the name of the contact should be exactly same as the account. Okay, and same goes for the other 9 accounts. Okay, so basically what I want to do is, for all those 10 existing accounts, I want to create respective contacts. So using the load data raptor, I can query those 10 accounts. Okay, and then define the condition to create the contacts. Okay, similarly, like, there might be some other scenarios as well. For example, account and cases. Let's say for every account you want to create a case, then you can do something similar. And also, let's say if you have, some data in, let's say, CSV format, that also, no, sorry, that would be actually in transform. Okay. So basically in load, just keep in mind that if you have to, load data from a different source, then you can use load data raptor. And that data, right, that you would be loading under this one, it could be in JSON or XML input format. Okay. And it is used to create or update data in Salesforce. All right. Then we have something called transform data raptor. So in transform data raptor, let's say if you already have a data source which is in JSON or XML input, right? So if it is in JSON, then it's good, right? Your input itself is in JSON, then and your output will be in JSON. But let's say if your input file is in XML format, right? Then that also can be imported here in the transform data raptor, and that can be transformed into JSON and vice versa. Okay. So, and also using transform data raptor, let's say if you have a CSV file, that also can be imported and it can be converted into a JSON format. Okay. So these kind of restructuring input data, or renaming fields, or substituting values, those kind of things can be done using the transform data raptor. Okay. So the only outline that you need to remember is extract data raptor is used to query one or more Salesforce objects. Turbo extract is used only to query from one single Salesforce object. In load data raptor, if you have to load data from different sources, that you can use load data raptor. It is also used for creating and updating data in Salesforce. The transform data raptor is used to transform the data that you will be actually importing from some other data source. Okay. Either converting from JSON to XML, or vice versa, or restructuring input data and renaming fields. Such kind of things can be done in transform. Okay. Or let it be, or maybe if you have a CSV file and then you want to convert that into JSON and then use it, right? So those kind of transformation can be used, can be done using transform data raptor. Okay. So um for just for the example, the scenario that we discussed in the previous session, where I want to, in my omniscript, I have created a screen. The first screen is wherein I have put a text box where user would be entering the account name, and then when he clicks on next button, then it will show the account information along with the contact details. Okay. So keeping that scenario in mind, we are going to use extract DataRaptor so that I'll be able to query account and its associated contact as well. But for the sake of this video, we are only going to be extracting account information. Okay. So, and because I have plans of using other S objects, querying other S objects into the same DataRaptor, so I'm going ahead and using the extract DataRaptor. Okay. Input type is going to be JSON and output is also JSON. Required permission is if for the user using this data raptor inside any omniscript, then if there are any specific permissions, then that can be mentioned over here. And then the description, right? Like for whatever purpose you're creating this data raptor, that can be mentioned inside the description. So let me click on save. So once the data raptor is created, you can see multiple tabs available over here. Okay. First of all, let's just have a look at the highlight panel. So this is the information that you provided while creating this data raptor. Okay. And this is your name. And after this, you can see all these different tabs which are available over here. Okay. And preview is also something that we already have. Now let's just go ahead and first, keep a query in mind, that because that is why we are creating DataRaptor, right? To fetch data from Salesforce. So let's say if you were to do the same thing using let's say in an Apex method, then you would have written a SOQL, right? So select, let's say, ID, name, industry from account. Okay. We'll provide the where condition later, but the agenda for us in that DataRaptor should be to form this query and get the results. Okay. So let's just go ahead and start that. So extract. So here, uh, Okay, so we'll go ahead and start adding the extract step. All you have to do is keep on checking this JSON, right? Because everything that we are going to do, right, the input output, everything is going to be in a JSON format, okay? And I'm hoping that you're already aware of the JSON structure. If not, then just try to follow along, okay? So I'm just going to add an extra step over here, okay? So which is the object where from where I want to fetch the data? It's account, right? So although I'm going to choose account, but I want to highlight that what are the kind of objects available here. So this list will basically provide you all the standard and custom objects in Salesforce along with the custom settings and also the custom metadata objects. Okay. So I'm going to select account because we are planning to fetch data from account. Okay. And then this extract output path is nothing but your node. So for example, let's say if I type in here as details, okay, sorry, details, you can see here, right, the JSON structure started forming its the kind of structure that it forms, right? So this is nothing but a parent node, right? Now anything that I want in the output, I'm going to provide that in the output tab. Okay, so let's say in the details, in the account details, I want to fetch ID, name and industry, right? These are the three information that I want to fetch from account. So ID, name, industry, these fields I'm going to provide in the output, but this is going to decide the the node, parent node for my JSON structure. Okay, and this is not something which, this is something that you can give anything that you want. So let's say if you don't want to keep it as details, you can give it as account. Okay, so that just by seeing the JSON structure, you'll know that okay, this node is going to have the account details. All right. And in filter, right, this is where I was talking about the where condition. Okay, so let's say I want to only fetch the account where name, let's say media. Okay, there are a lot of accounts that I have in the system which has this word, okay, media. So I'm just keeping it like this. So for this, for the demo purpose, I'm going to hard code the value. Okay, so I'm going to provide a filter on this particular data fetch for name. Okay, so name, account name, and here basically these are the operators that you, which is basically available to you when you write a SQL, right? So and here, so here let's say if I give something as just like this, okay, so it will be considered as a variable. Okay, but I want to hard code the value, right? I want to hard code this value. Okay, so what I would be doing is, we would not be requiring to put the percentage over there because we already have selected the operator, but here you need to give the name in single quotes. Okay, if you don't give the name in single quotes, then it is going to consider it as variable. Okay, and let me just go ahead with this one and I'll show you that let's say if you give a variable over here, then how you're going to provide the value to that variable. Okay, so for now let's just imagine that we are just giving this particular hard coded value. Okay, so fetch data from account where name like media. Okay, so we have only done this part, select from account where name like media. We have to define the values that we want to display in the output. Okay, so let's just go to the, we'll discuss about formulas later. Let's just go to the output and try to search for those values. Okay, you need to click on this plus, and the first thing that I want is ID, right? So ID. So this is account ID and it is displayed as account colon ID once you select from the pick list. And so this is something that you cannot retype. Okay, this will actually show you all the fields that are available under account objects with their API names. Okay, but this is something that you can decide on your own. Okay, so it is not necessary for you that we know that ID field under account will have this API name, right? ID. But here in your JSON, you can give it as account ID. So basically you can decide the name, whatever you want, okay, to be displayed. And look at this. It added this, right? Account ID. And the value is not over there, but yeah, it's like account. So whatever you give here, right? It is nothing but you can give anything. I can give here as ACC ID as well, right? So you can give anything, whatever you want in output JSON path. This one will be selected directly from the object with the API name, but this one, the label name you can decide, like the key name you can decide, okay? So account ID, all right. We'll talk about these values later on. Let's just add another value. So the first one was ID, then we had name and industry, okay? So let's just search for name. So account name, and then here I'm going to type name, okay? And then let's just enter industry. So account industry, and here I'm just going to type it as industry. Okay, so this is the structure, okay? Industry, name, and account ID. But just I want to highlight something over here. So if you see like a normal JSON structure, it is something like this, okay? One second. So right now, if you see the structure here, right, it is directly giving us this. Let me just copy and paste it. Will I be able to? Yeah. Copy, and then let's just paste it here, okay? But you know what? I do not want my structure to be like this. I want something like this. So here and under here. Okay. I want the parent node to be there. Okay. And then let's say like, if I am fetching from like, the contact details as well, I would want the structure to be something like this. So contact, and then like, basically like, some information or whatever it is, like, first name, last name, or whatever information does the, like, the contact have. Okay. So you're seeing the difference, right? I want a parent node to be available. Okay. So I don't want the structure to look like this, but I rather want the structure to look like this. So for that, let's just go back and we can edit these values. Okay. So industry name and account ID. Okay. So let's start with account ID. Okay. So we'll just click on edit here, and here, whatever name I have given, right? I have to give it something like this: account colon and then account ID. So you see, right? Because I gave colon after account, it created the parent node as account. Okay. And then the account ID is inside the account. Okay. And similarly, we can edit the industry as well. So basically, whatever we have in the JSON path, right, we can give the same, copy and paste the same value. Come on. Yes. Okay. And similarly, even for this, we had name, right? So let's just give it as account name. Now you can see, right, the structure is the way I want it. So I should be able to identify, okay, this is my parent node, and these are the details inside the parent node. Okay. So that when I add extra objects, right, contact or any other information, like, any other child objects related to account, so that I will have a proper structure. Okay. So that is why I didn't want to keep like, keep the information without a parent node. All right. So that is why. So if you want to create structures like these, then you have to focus on the output JSON path, because output JSON path is something that is under your control. Okay. Because here you're just choosing like, which fields you want to display, but here you can like, basically you can have more control over the structure. Okay. So if you don't want the structure to be like this, if let's say you're only like, using one object, then maybe like, you don't want the parent node to be there. just displaying the information in the JSON structure is sufficient for you, then you don't have to do this. But if, let's say, if there are multiple objects, then I think it is one of the good practices that will actually help you to identify the information better. Okay. So this is how you can do. You just need to use colon, the object name and the colon. All right. So this is the output. Okay. So let's just quickly summarize what we did. In the first tab, we selected the object from where we want to fetch the data account. Okay. And then we selected the where condition, because in this particular account fetch, I wanted this where condition, where name like media. Okay. And that filter I've added over here. We have the list of operators, and here we are just hard coding the value. We'll learn about the variables, okay, in few minutes, but for now we are just hard coding the value. And once you have this part of your query, you need to decide which fields you want to fetch in the from this particular object. Okay. And that you have to define inside the output. Okay. Formulas is something, let's say, like, you want to call, even this is you can actually do, like, really great stuff over here. Like, in formulas, you can even call an, like, an apex method over here. Okay. So in this particular use case scenario, we are not going to use formulas, but in the upcoming sessions, we'll definitely do some examples where we'll use formulas, and we'll understand that, like, what power does it hold in DataRaptors. All right. So for now, you can just focus on these basic details, and we'll learn about formulas later on. Okay. So this was output, and let's just go to okay, we'll discuss about options once we see the preview. Okay. So let's just click on preview, and let me execute this. Here you can see, right? So in my org, there are two accounts where I have this keyword media. So global media and outfront media. Okay. So it returned me two records. Okay. And now you see the structure. This looks better, right? So account, and then I think the structure that I gave here was not right, right? It should be something like this. But you guys, I think, understand. So it's okay. Okay, the double quotes, double close, and then colon. Okay. So that's fine. But this is the benefit of, like, using a proper structure, so that I can, like, see the details, like, in a really formatted way. Okay. And here on the right side, you can see the query that is formed. Select ID, name, industry from account, where name like media. Okay. This is what we basically wanted. All right. Now, if you let's just talk about the variable first, and then we'll understand what are these things. Okay. So let me go back to the, let's just talk about options first. Okay. So this one, check field level security, right? So if you have worked on Apex classes, you would understand the meaning of with sharing. Okay. So this particular checkbox is nothing but it will enforce that with sharing thing, right, in your data raptor. So basically it is going to check the permissions that the user has. Okay. It could be, like, it could be defined at, like, profile, like, table, access table level, or maybe, like, even permission set level. Okay. So it is going to enforce the, like, security, like with sharing basically. Okay. And by with sharing, I know that, like, you would be now thinking, okay, what and all does it include? Like, does it include sharing rules, this and that, and all those things? But this is just for, like, basically you can imagine, right, whatever it checks for with sharing in an Apex class, and that is something that, like, whatever you have on profile, access table level, and the permission set, the same thing this checkbox will also do. Okay. And this one, right, override target for all null inputs. This is going to basically cover for your null exceptions, right? So let's say if I include one more output field here, which might be blank. Okay. By that I mean, let's say I had only fetched industry name and account ID. Let's say I fetched some other field, right? Let's say fax number or description or something like that, which might be blank into this particular record. Okay. So for those kind of values, you generally provide null check, right? So in this over here, if you click on this one, right, if you just keep it unchecked basically. Okay. If you keep it unchecked, then it will not display you the values where we have, like, it will not display you the combination where we will have blank values. Let me just go ahead and do this. Okay. Let's just add description. So, I think facts will already have the value, so I'm not going to use facts, but account description. Okay. And all right, let me go ahead and preview this. So I don't think that it will actually display. Okay, the description is actually available, but okay, in this one, if you see in this one, right, this was the first account. Okay. This was the, let me just only query this one. Okay. Out front. So we'll go back to extract and we are going to give this. So I only want to query accounts where the name is like out front. Okay. So preview, execute here. Okay. So we have name and account ID. Okay. But in this particular account, if I go back to output, what in all do I have? Description, ID, industry, and name. Okay. So it is also not giving us the industry. So let me go ahead and check this. I just want to make sure that we are not doing anything wrong here. Okay. So, all right, let's go to details and it's not on the layout. Let me check in the backend. So industry is blank, right, in this one. And I think the description is also blank. The description, account description is also blank, right? So let's just go back to the data raptor, okay? So you see, right, what happened here is that you, in this particular case, right, if you have kept it unchecked, you have not checked it, that means it will handle the null and like, all those exceptions, like, null exception along with the data raptor implementation itself. Okay. You don't have to worry about the null check exceptions. Okay. So here it will, that means it will only display the details where there are values. Okay. It is not displaying the blank ones. Okay. But let's say if I go back to option and if I check this, okay, and let's just go back to preview and execute, then it will also display the blank values. See, it assigned a blank string over here, right? So, but in this case, if you're keeping it checked, then you have to handle the null exception, right? So it's better to keep it unchecked. All right. Okay, now let's just talk about the variable. So here we had hard coded the value, right? Where account name like out front. Okay, but let's say if I am giving like a variable, okay, let's say name, some variable, then when we come to preview, okay, it won't give us anything because it is going to show us some error. Okay, I'm not yeah, errors, there has to be some error. See, no valid data returned, check the mappings, have valid field names. Okay, so it is not because we have given a variable and we did not provide any value in the variable, right? The variable is over here, right? In the where condition, this is the variable that I've created, but I need to provide some value over here, right? So let's just go back to preview, and here we need to click on that edit as params and then click over here. And what is the value that we have? Name, right? Copy this, come back here. And the value that you have to give is uh, media, right? And execute. So we should be, it should give us back two accounts, right? Because I have two accounts in the system with the name media. What happened? I think I don't have to. All right, yeah. Because this is like key value, right? I again, because here when I hard coded, I had to define whether it's a string or it's a variable. But here you don't have to provide it in the string, right? It's just like, key value and that's it. So I gave, so now the query is again like, the same thing. Select ID description, ID industry name from account where name like media. Okay, so it returned me two accounts. All right. So this is how you can fetch data. Okay, using DataRaptor. This one, the first one, just for the demo purpose, we used extract DataRaptor. Now let's just go ahead and see that how I can call this particular script in my, sorry, this particular DataRaptor in my OmniScript. But before that, you know what? This is something I wanted to discuss about these things, okay? So these are basically like, your, if you see the time, right, that the time it is taking, okay? So let's say this is actually like, a really good thing, because it will like, it will tell you if your code, if you're like, whatever you have defined or like, written in your data raptor, if that is optimized or not, right? So if this server timing goes, let's say like, 500 or above, that means you need to optimize the code. Okay, it's not good. Okay, the same thing is like, generally when we debug code and see these things, right, the performance things like, apex cpu and like, all this performance matrix. So this is good because here itself you will be able to know that like, how it is going to perform. And then accordingly you can like, maybe you'll be able to optimize your data raptor script. All right. And here, you know what, also there's one more thing. If you go back to the option, uh, yeah, here, right, time to live in minutes. So let's say if your performance is too bad, let's say if it is going like, maybe like, more than 500 or like, even 1000, that means it is taking time, correct? So here you can define the time in minutes. Okay, so let's say if I define it as like, 1 minute. So your, when your omniscript is executed and when it calls your data raptor, and let's say if it is taking too much of time, and whatever you have defined here, right, let's say 1 minute, and if it takes more than a minute, the moment that the time you have defined here crosses, it will like, give some error on the omniscript. It will stop, it will drop the script there itself. Okay, because you have already defined some time. Okay, and then if you do that, you'll get to know that okay, this, like, the performance is like, really degraded and it's taking a lot of time. But this is something that basically you can use in order to check, and then like, make your code better, right, your scripts better. So let's just go ahead and navigate to the omniscript. So to navigate to the omniscript again, let me, here like, you can search for omniscripts, and when you click on this, you'll land on this page. Okay, and let's just go to the omniscript that we created in one of the previous sessions. So I'll go ahead and I'll try to access the data raptor that we just created. Okay, so here if you see, the first screen is where we have created this element for account name, and then on this particular screen we also have a next button, and when you, once you provide the account name and click on the next button, you'll be navigated to the next screen. Okay, so just think about it, when should you like, at which position, like, where are you exactly supposed to call your data raptor here? Okay, so if you think about it, right, let me just click on preview and show you something. Okay, so this is your step one, right? So generally, like, what will you think that okay, can you call your data raptor after script configuration, or should it be called after step one, or should it be called like, after step two? So why I'm discussing this is because here the value that is going to be entered, it is going to be entered by the user, right? So let's say ABC. Okay, so in the dynamic query, when we actually discuss about the binding, right, we'll understand, because for now we had just hard coded the value, right? And we also used a variable, that is true. But let's just imagine that the value that you have to pass over here, that value will come from this screen, right? The first screen, whatever user enters, correct? And once you have that value, then only you have to query the Salesforce, right, data. Because if you don't have the value itself from the user, then what are you, your query will be basically flawed, right? Because you will not have nothing for this particular parameter, right? So that is why your data raptor should be called sorry, after step one, right? Because in step one, you will receive the value from the user. Then you can call your data raptor and pass the value that the user has entered. Okay, so that is how you have to think and decide the sequence where you are supposed to call your data raptor. All right. So we are not going to do the whole implementation here, but let me just go ahead and show you how to call the DataRaptor. So I think it's under actions. Yeah, DataRaptor extract action. So here, okay. It has pretty similar features, okay. So it has something called element name. Again, it is going to like, act as the element identifier, unique identifier. So here we can give something as account, sorry, account fetch query, and let's just keep the same in the label, because the label, this label is not going to get displayed, but yeah. And then here you need to select search for the data raptor that we have created, okay. So this is the one that we have created, account search use case. And you know what, from here you can also create a new data raptor, okay. So for that, I think here, look at this option, create new data raptor. So if you click on this, then you will be navigated to the data raptor screen where you can start like, creating your data raptor. But if you have gone like, separately from a separate page, created data raptor, then you can simply search for that over here. So this is the one that we just created, okay. So yeah, and that's it. Let's just look at the JSON, because we have not, this also something, let me show you this as well. So account fetch query, and here the input parameters, okay. I'm going to talk about it in the next session, when, because in next sessions we are separately going to like, do some kind of like, assignments on extract, turbo extract, load, and transform data raptors, okay, all four data raptors. And we'll do like, we'll take some uh use case, real time use case, and we will do those in separate sessions, okay. So that is when I will like, give you more insights on like, how to provide input parameters and stuff like that. This is just to show how you can call data raptors, right? But this is nothing but wherein you will be providing your like, variable and stuff like that, like, the what would be the input parameter, okay. Because in this case the input parameter would be from this screen, right, the value that the user has entered, right? So we'll see all of that, so don't worry about it. For now, let's just go ahead and check out the JSON structure. So data, so this is step one, right? And we are calling data raptor after step one, right? So let me click on next. And then we would have to clear this and refresh this, okay? So here, now if okay, I need to provide some value, and then because I've made this field as required, right? So if I click on next, this is where it should actually provide me the data. What's happening? No, hold on. Let me do it again, okay? So this, I will just refresh this once. Let's just go to preview. Let's just look at the data. So looks like this is, let me go back to the data raptor. And this is the one that we created. Okay. Everything looks fine. So it should actually give us the result, whatever we have here, right? Or one second, let me go ahead and use the other one. Okay, so here, sorry, account fetch. I'll just go ahead and for now, I'm making it not required. Okay. And let me, and I'm going back and I'm using the data raptor that we just created because I thought maybe there's something wrong and I was trying to use one of the previous ones. Okay. Just to see if it's work. So I'm using the data raptor that we have just created. All I did was I have made this particular element non-required. Okay. So let's just preview. Okay. And next, clear data. Think I'll go back to the data raptor. This might be because we are not providing any inputs, right? So let's just remove this from here and I'll go back to the extract and I'm going to hardcode the value here. Okay, so media and then preview. All right, now let's go back to the omniscript and refresh this. All right, preview. Next and data. Yeah, yeah. So it gave the values, right? Now, so this one was actually not causing the issue, okay? The issue was because we had given the input parameters there, right, in the data raptor. But when we call the data raptors, we have not defined any input parameters, correct? So that is why I went back and I've hard coded that value for now. We'll learn about input parameters in the next sessions, okay? So don't worry about it. So this one, now if I go back and let me show you again, okay? So here, right now everything is null. This is required. Let me click on. So this is step one. Once you enter the value, that is when we are actually calling this data raptor. Okay. So if I click on next, see, we can see the results. Okay. There are two accounts. And this is because the value is already hard coded in the data raptor. Okay. So whatever it is returning from there, it is simply showing the same thing in the JSON over here. Okay. So this is the basic way how you can create the data raptor and how you can call it inside your omniscript. Okay, so in the next session we are going to discuss and basically execute scenarios depending on each type of data raptors that we have. Okay, so we'll start with turbo extract and then we'll also check out extract and then we will check out load and then transform. And with each data type, we are also going to do some examples so that it will be more clear to you that how we can execute different scenarios. And I'll try to include some of the scenarios wherein we'll be able to use maybe basic formulas. Okay, so the formula tab that we saw, right, because we did not use this one at all. Okay, so I'll try to include such scenarios, but for now the overview is that you need to navigate to Omnistudio DataRaptors, and then using that new button, you have to create a data raptor. You have to choose the type of data raptor that you want to create. In this one, we created extract. In the extract tab, you just need to define the object from where you want to fetch the data, and then the filter that you want to keep in the DataRaptor, I think it's always easy if you already have the query in mind, okay, so that you will not get confused. You have to define the object and the filter on the extract screen, okay, and then on the output screen, you have to define the fields. And also the way you are giving your output JSON path will define the structure, okay, the parent node and the details inside the parent node, okay, the way your JSON is going to look. So basically in the output panel, you are going to define all the fields that you want to fetch. And in the options, we already discussed about all these three things, right? What is time to live in minutes, what is check field level security, and what is override target for all null inputs, okay. And then in the preview, you can you'll be able to see your query, also the results. And plus, if let's say if you have given a variable under extract tab, then you can provide the key value over here as well, okay. And then once you have everything in place, you can go to your omniscript. And in your omniscript, like, think the first thing is that you need to know where you have to call your data raptor, okay. And to call your data raptor, you have to go under actions, and then drag and drop the data raptor extract action. And once you drag and drop it, you just have to give some unique identifier label. If you like, you can keep any label, like, which makes sense to you. And then in the data raptor interface, you need to search for the data raptor that you have created. And if you don't want to do it in that route, then you can directly come to your omniscript and do all of this, and then fetch this action, right? Data raptor extract action. And then from the data raptor interface, you can directly click on create new data raptor. Okay, so I think this is enough for you to get started. And I think practice whatever you can, at least practice either you can practice the same scenario that we did here, okay, with the hard coded value and then providing a variable about input parameters, like, inside the data raptor extract. We will be discussing about all these things in the upcoming sessions, okay. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.